Hi, this is Megan with Beadaholique, and today I'm going to show you how to make a basic friendship bracelet. And you can use a lot of different kind of cords with the same basic technique to make bracelets. A lot of people use embroidery floss. I'm going to actually use S-Lon nylon cord. It's a little stiffer. It's shiny. I really like the look, and it comes in a variety of really pretty colors. You don't need a lot of tools. You just need a pair of scissors, and then you need some way to fasten this to your work surface when you're working. I'm just going to tape it down to the work surface. Some other things you could do would be to clip it to a clipboard and hold the clipboard. One of the most popular ways to fasten your work is to put a safety pin through the knot and then put the safety pin on the leg of your pants, and then cross your leg and work from your leg. It's really easy that way. But for the purposes of showing you, I'm just going to tape it to the workspace. Just if you are taping it, don't pull too hard. It will slip through the tape. The first thing you need to do is pick your colors. You can use anything from 3 strands up to, it's kind of up to you how wide you want your bracelet to be and how many threads you think you can manage at once. You could start with something more simple and then expand from there. I would usually recommend starting with a few feet of thread or cord, 3 or 4, somewhere in the middle. I'm going to use 5 colors, and I'm going to use 3 of each color. The basic pattern that I'm going to show you is just stripes. When you use more than one strand of the same color together in a stripe, it's going to make the stripes wider. So to do a striped pattern, you need to start with your strands in the order that you want before you tie them together. So you can just choose which colors you want to go next to each other and put them side by side in pairs of 2. So go ahead and pull your threads, your cords, until you have a couple of inches where your pattern is the way you're going to want it to work with. And then just tie a regular overhand knot several inches from the end so that you have a tail to tie with later, so that your pattern is still in the right order. That's going to keep it more tidy at the top of your bracelet. And then just take some masking tape and tape it to your table, or pin your work to you carefully to your clothing, or use a clipboard. Find some way to secure it. And you want it to hold pretty well so that you can pull on it a little bit without loosening it up. Okay. Then you're going to start with the color that you want to go first with, which should be over to one side already since you organized it first. And start with the leftmost strand. And I like to pull that one to the left and pull the other ones to the right, just to keep it straight in my head. Now the knot that you use for a basic friendship bracelet is a half hitch knot. And a half hitch knot, you take the next strand to the right, and your tying strand that you're going to tie all the way across with, you're going to go underneath the next strand to the right so that you kind of form a 4, number 4 look kind of shape. And then you're going to bring it back to the left through the loop, and then pull it up to tighten it. Your tension on this should be pretty snug, but not so tight that it makes it misshapen. So we're actually going to do a double half hitch, and you can see friendship bracelet patterns that only have a half hitch knot. You can see some that have a double half hitch. I like the double half hitch because it keeps the work from curling. So you're just going to do the same thing. You just take it over and through the loop and pull it up. And you're going to take the same strand that you knotted with, and you're going to go to the next strand to the right. And you're going to go ahead and tie 2 half-hitch knots there. And as you work across, your line of knots will slant slightly downward to the right, and that is normal. So you don't need to try to shove it all the way up next to the knot. Go ahead and let it naturally slope downward. That's what gives the nice diagonal stripe look. And then you go to the next strand to the right, and you're just going to work all the way across with 2 half-hitch, so a double half-hitch on each strand, and pull up. I don't recommend pulling up this way too much towards the knot. Just pull up and maybe slightly right to get it nice and tight. If you pull up, it might slide your knot up on the strand if you pull towards the big knot. So just keep working across. And remember the pattern that you put your colors in the first place. So you should have your 2 strands of each color next to each other if you want to have big stripes. If you mix it up and you randomize your thread when you're tying your knot and then just pick whatever thread comes next, it'll just end up with smaller stripes and in a random pattern. But if you want an even stripe, then you take them in order, and if you want a larger stripe, you use the 2 strands of the same color together. And the first row is the tricky part because you need to get the slant established, and after that it'll kind of fall right up against the one before it. And you're going to take your knotting all the way across until you knot your thread onto the last cord on the right. And then that's going to become the new last cord on the right. And with the S-Lon, it's a little bit slippery. It allows you to adjust it a little bit. You can go ahead and straighten the line out of your first row to make it look a little cleaner. And then you're just going to go back to the left and pick up your new leftmost thread. And you're going to work your way across again with a double half-hitch knot on each strand across. All right. For the first couple rows, you can clean it up, just pushing it up with your fingernail, making that into a nice straight line. After the first few rows, you won't need to do that. It'll have a nice shape to it. So you can see that having the 2 purple cords next to each other makes a nice thick purple stripe. And in the third row, and in every other row after that, you'll start a new color stripe when you pick up a new color. So it would be exactly the same. You just pick up the new leftmost strand, and you just use that one to tie the double half hitch knot onto the strands all the way across. But this time it's going to have a new color, so it's going to start that new stripe. Okay, so you can see it's just going to start that seafoam green color stripe underneath, and it'll just go right in order. So my next stripe would be white, and after that I'd have a pink stripe, the fuchsia, and then the dark blue, and then it would start over. By the time you get over, your colors will kind of circulate back through, and you'll have a repeating pattern. And you're just going to keep doing your knotting until your bracelet is as long as you want. These bracelets usually tie shut. It's usually a permanent application. You tie it on. You can play around a little bit with the ideas of clasps and sliding knot clasps and stuff like that, but you want to have enough of a bracelet length to accommodate however you're going to close it, and other than that, you just keep knotting until it's as long as you want. Okay, so once you have knotted your bracelet as long as you want, and don't forget that you don't need to knot the full length of what you want to go, because you're going to have a knot connecting the bracelet also. So you don't need quite as much as you think you do necessarily. Just check it as you go and see when you think you're there. Once you're all done, you can just tie another overhand knot in the end of your cords and pull that nice and tight. And if you want to wear your bracelet permanently, you can just trim your cords and tie a square knot. It's the easiest way. But I'm going to show you how to make a really quick, simple little sliding knot clasp on here. Go ahead and cut some of the excess off of the long side. You need a few inches, but you don't need it to be quite that long. And you're going to bring around your bracelet. And you're going to make a knot with one group of cords around the other group of cords. So just a regular overhand knot, but with the other group of cords passing through the loop. And you want to make sure that you tighten your knot a couple of inches away from where that group starts. So for these cords, have the knot be a couple of inches down the cord. And then you're going to do the same thing with the other side. Bring them around. And it's just an overhand knot. And then you want, that knot is for these cords, so you want it a couple inches down that way. Okay, now in order to get these knots to stay in, but not be so tight that you can't slide your bracelet open and closed, I'm actually going to apply a little bit of E6000 glue. And you want to be pretty careful that you're getting your glue just inside your knot and not onto the other strands, or else it won't move. And you want to make sure that when you glue it, you glue the knot shut, but not too tight. The idea is that you can pull to open the bracelet larger and then pull the ends to close it back up. So you're going to take a scratch pad or a scrap piece of paper or anything that you don't need, and get some glue out, and then use a toothpick or a scrap piece of wire, something that'll give you a nice fine point to apply the glue. And the best way to do that is to actually go ahead and loosen the knot just a little bit, and then get some glue on your applicator. Not a lot, just a dab. And like I said, be really careful that you're not getting glue on the strings that go through the knot. Just get this glue on the strings that make up the knot. And the best thing is the piece of the cord that comes out to your ends, if you put the glue on the ends of on the edges of the knot where those cords go in, you will keep it from getting all over the rest of your cords. So apply the glue and then pull that knot. And like I said, pull it snug, but not so tight that it's going to keep it from moving. The glue will really hold it in place, so you don't have to make your knot super, super tight as long as it's going to stay in place. And then go ahead and just repeat that with the next one. Loosen up the knot. Get a little bit of glue on an applicator, and where you have your ends coming out on that same length of cord, I'm just going in the other side of the knot, but it's the same cords. Just get that into your knot and tighten the knot up a little bit. And then you can trim off your ends. Don't trim them all the way off. You want to have something to grab onto. You can, if you leave them longer, you can tie an extra little knot if you want a knot. You can leave them dangling. You can tie little knots in each one. I've seen people put a knot with a bead on each one. It's up to you how you want to do it. But so that is the little clasp you're going to use on there, and you want to let your glue dry really thoroughly before you try to use that to wear it. I'd let it dry overnight, about 24 hours. But that way you can open it up, slide it on, and then pull it closed again. It's a little bit easier than wearing one permanently. And that is how you make a basic friendship bracelet. And if you want to change the pattern up, you can just change the order in which you do your double half hitch knots. You can take some from one side. Instead of having it be like a 4, you'd have it be like a backwards 4. You'd work from the right side to the left and make them in like a chevron pattern. You can use your imagination once you get the hang of it and do all kinds of different patterns with it.